SETO assistant. SETO assistant.
A new piece of audio is circulating in the Nolan Wells case, and it has drawn more public attention than nearly any development so far. Some listeners claim they can make out a name being spoken in the background, a question about someone's condition, and what sounds like a direction given to a specific person. If those interpretations were ever independently confirmed, they could shift how many people understand the events of that day. Before treating any of those claims as established, however, it is necessary to compare them carefully against every source that has had direct access to the original recording, and to examine what the evidence actually supports. The audio is not the only development this week. New information has emerged from the independent examination. The governor has repeated an earlier public statement. A formal petition has been submitted to the appropriate oversight body, and Nolan's mother has filed a court document that has received far less attention than many realize it warrants. Before going further, the different categories of information must be kept distinct. A forensic finding, a court filing, and a public interpretation of background sound are not the same, and they should not be given equal weight simply because they appeared around the same time. Throughout this discussion, confirmed facts will be separated from disputed claims and unverified interpretations, with sources identified at every step. This is not an attempt to decide what occurred. It is an examination of what can presently be established from the material available. The audio deserves careful attention first, because it is driving much of the current conversation and requires balanced review rather than either exaggeration or dismissal. The claim spreading online is that closer listening to the SETO recording reveals three distinct elements in the background: a name being called, a question about condition, and a specific instruction directed to a named individual. If those elements were conclusively verified, they would meaningfully alter public understanding of the case. That is exactly why they demand rigorous scrutiny instead of assumption. Here is what is confirmed. The recording itself is authentic. It is the same SETO call that has been referenced and reported by multiple national news organizations, including NBC News, WFAA, TMZ, and Newsweek. Those outlets have had access to the original recording and have published transcripts of the clearly audible foreground conversation. They have also acknowledged that background voices and activity can be heard during portions of the call. The existence of those background sounds is not in dispute. Here is what has not been confirmed, and clarity on this point is essential. None of those news organizations, including NBC News, WFAA, TMZ, or Newsweek, has verified that the specific phrases now circulating online can be accurately identified in the recording. No independent forensic audio expert has publicly authenticated those interpretations, and no law enforcement agency has issued a statement confirming or addressing them. At this time, the claims remain unverified. That distinction matters. Unverified does not mean false, but it also does not mean true. It simply means that no independent authority with access to the original evidence has confirmed those particular interpretations. There is another reason for careful handling. Unlike earlier discussions that focused on unclear background sound, this latest interpretation goes further. It attributes specific words to a named individual and suggests a direct instruction involving that person. Claims of that nature require an especially high standard of verification before they can be presented as fact. Until that level of confirmation exists, they should be regarded as interpretations rather than established evidence. If you value evidence-based coverage that separates verified information from online speculation, consider subscribing and enabling notifications. We track every major development from official sources, so the distinction between confirmed record and circulating claim remains clear. Now the evidence itself
SETO assistant. SETO assistant. SETO assistant. SETO assistant. Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can you all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles? Hello? 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 Hello?
Hey.
Yes, how far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
All right, well, let's get you going. Membership number or phone number listed on the account, sir?
I don't know the phone number. It's either. I think it's. Try that.
All right.
I know we have a membership, like guaranteed.
All right.
I know we have a membership, like guaranteed.
All right.
I know we have a membership, like guaranteed.
All right.
I know we have a membership, like guaranteed. I don't have the tag on
Unless you
here.
have a membership number or anything, it's okay. I'll get you over to the captain. What's the best phone number to reach you at?
Reach me at 2.
All right. And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's
How many? All right. Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
What?
All right. Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
What?
All right. Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
What?
Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
No, we do not need that.
All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Do you have your current GPS coordinates?
Let me go look.
If not, I can send you a text message.
Alright, are you ready?
Yes, sir. I'm available.
North 30 degrees by 4672.
All right, 4672. All right, and you were breaking up a little bit. Can you just repeat it one more time to make sure I have it correct?
Sorry, look.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, what?
So you're breaking up. If you need assistance, do you have a VHF radio?
No, we do not have the VHF radio.
All right, well, let's try to get you going because you don't have good cell phone reception. Can you verify your coordinates one more time?
Okay, my coordinates are 30 degrees by 14.684 north, and then west by 88 degrees by 46.79.
Right, looks like you're on Horn Island, correct? Are you
Yes,
on
we are
Horn
at Horn Island. Yes.
All right, is the boat sinking or you have it aground?
We were sinking, yes.
Is it aground is the question?
No, we're not aground. We are in 17 foot of water. We're in 31 foot of water.
All right, have to ask. What do you want to do? Do you want to be towed back?
I want to get this boat unsank and towed back, yes.
All right, where would you like it towed to, sir?
You can tow it to Ocean Springs Harbor, or Fort Bayou Launch.
All right, how many adults and children on board?
No, there's no children.
So, is there anybody on board? How many adults, sir? That was the question.
Hey, Florida. Drop it off.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, Florida. Drop it off.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, Florida. Drop it off.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, Florida. Drop it off.
Hello, can you hear me?
Try to jump in and pull the plug while you're going.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yep, I just need you to answer these questions so I can get you over to the captain.
Okay,
How many adults on board?
There are 0 adults on board.
There's nobody on board the boat?
No. Nobody
right.
here is over the age of 21.
Sir, that was not the question. Is there a person? Is there a person, a living individual on the boat?
Hello?
Is there a living person, someone breathing on the boat? Is there anybody on the boat?
Yes, there's lots of people breathing on the boat.
All right, how many people, sir?
Like 7.
All right, thank you. Does every-
Like 7.
All right, thank you. Does every-
Like 7.
All right, thank you. Does every-
Like 7.
All right, thank you. Does everyone have life jackets on or available to them?
Yes, we have life jackets available.
All right, verify what boat's sinking.
A Triton, 22-foot offshore, 22-foot Triton offshore sea flight hull.
All right. All right. Please hold. I'm transferring you to the local captain now.
Okay, thank you.
This is Captain Seth.
Hi, Captain Seth. This is Vicky from International. How you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, good. I apologize ahead of time. I really do. You're going to have a fee-for-service come up under...
Okay.
It sounds like a bunch of kids on board on Horn Island. He's letting me know that his father's a member, but he can't give me any information. And he's saying the boat is sinking, and he's on Horn Island. It's just unfortunate. He's just a kid. There's a lot going on. So
Right.
He said there's about a lot of people on board. He says he thinks about 7. I'm guessing they're all under 18.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to be rude. He wants you guys to go out there and unpump the boat and then tow it in.
Do you know what kind of boat it is?
He said a Triton 24-footer, but that's all he can give me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just actually got off the phone with his grandpa, who I'm guessing is the owner of the boat. And he said,
Okay.
I just hung up with him. He said that they don't need any help right now, but if something changes, he'll call me back. So I'm guessing that they may have figured it out, because that's what he said. So they're in a panic and their boat won't crank.
Yeah, they're in a panic. He's saying the bilge is not keeping up. I asked for Coast Guard. He said no, but he's just really upset on the back end. And, I get it. It's a kid. He just doesn't understand.
Oh, okay. Do you still have him on the line?
Yes, I still have him on the line. And, again, I couldn't find he couldn't give me anything regarding his grandfather's, membership, so it's just under fee-for-service.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just talked to, if you want to, we're so tied up right now. We can't really do any non-member jobs right now.
Is he a member? Did you find out if he was a member or not?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's his boat or what. I'm not sure what's going on with it. But yeah, transfer the kid over. I'll talk to him, and then I'll call his grandpa back as well.
All right. And did you want me to look up membership number or anything like that to see if he's up? I know you guys are
You can try this cell phone number.
Yes, sir.
Anything on this phone number?
All right. Yep. Yeah, he's an active member. Hold on.
What kind of boat do you have on there? Same boat?
Yeah, he's one of your members. Yep, 22-foot Triton. All right. I'll just disregard this one. I'm gonna send you over an accurate one under this one. Okay. He's one of your members. You'll get in a couple minutes. Okay.
Okay, perfect. All right. And, yeah, just transfer this kid over whenever you get a chance.
All right, transfer him now. Thank you again, Captain.
All righty.
Stay safe out there. It's crazy. Have a drink.
Oh, it's wild. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hello? Hello? Are you there? I apologize. I will be disconnecting due to lack of response.
The latest claim circulating in the Nolan Wells case represents a significant escalation over previous discussions, and that makes the lack of independent verification even more important. The more detailed and serious an allegation becomes, especially when it identifies a specific individual by name, the higher the standard of evidence should be before anyone accepts or repeats it as fact. For that reason, we're not going to replay the disputed audio repeatedly or present it as though it provides a dramatic breakthrough. Instead, we've explained exactly what people are claiming to hear and where those claims currently stand. If a qualified forensic audio expert or law enforcement agency eventually confirms or disproves those interpretations, that would be genuine news, and we'll report it as soon as that happens. Until then, those interpretations remain unverified. That doesn't change simply because the recording has been shared thousands of times online. Repetition does not create evidence, and widespread discussion is not the same as independent confirmation. When a claim identifies a real person and suggests potentially serious implications, it deserves greater caution, not less. While many aspects of this investigation rely on witness accounts and competing versions of events, one category of evidence stands apart from personal recollections. GPS data does not rely on memory or opinion. It records a vessel's movements automatically, documenting its location and speed without regard for anyone's account of what happened. That's why this evidence deserves careful attention and why it must be interpreted accurately without exaggeration. Here's what has already been confirmed. The available GPS information shows that the boat remained stationary near Horn Island until approximately 4:30 p.m. Between about 4:31 p.m. and 5:24 p.m., the vessel moved only very slowly, traveling at speeds ranging from approximately 0.06 to 4.2 knots. During nearly an hour on the water, it covered only about 2.7 miles. A pace comparable to walking speed across open water. After approximately 5:24 p.m., the situation changes. The boat accelerates to a normal cruising speed of roughly 35 knots before arriving at El Camino Railroad around 5:44 p.m. Those movements have been widely reported from GPS chart plotter data collected under law enforcement authority, and no publicly available information indicates that any party involved in the investigation has challenged the accuracy of that portion of the timeline. This is where the discussion becomes more complicated. A newer and much more detailed version of the GPS timeline has recently begun circulating online. According to those claims, after docking around 5:44 p.m., the boat departed again at approximately 5:52 p.m., traveled into Fort Bayou, returned around 6:06 p.m., left again at approximately 6:36 p.m., continued toward St. Martin Bayou, changed direction multiple times, reached another boat launch at about 7:19 p.m., and was eventually removed from the water and transported by trailer to a private residence in Biloxi at approximately 7:47 p.m. If that sequence ultimately proves accurate, it would substantially reshape the public understanding of the evening. Instead of one unexplained stop, it would suggest several additional movements over nearly 2 more hours before the boat was finally removed from the water. Considering those events occurred on the same day Nolan Wells disappeared, and before he was officially reported missing, such a timeline would naturally draw significant public attention. However, this is precisely where careful reporting matters most. The additional timestamps are considerably more detailed than anything previously confirmed. More detail alone does not make a claim more reliable. According to those sharing the information, the expanded sequence comes from the same GPS download process that produced the earlier confirmed movements. Even so, the complete timestamp sequence itself has not yet been independently verified against the original MDMR records, nor has any neutral news organization confirmed each movement in the same manner that the earlier GPS data was verified. That distinction is critical. We're not saying the expanded timeline is inaccurate. We're saying it has not yet met the same evidentiary standard as the earlier GPS information. Until that happens, it remains a claim that requires verification rather than a confirmed fact on which further conclusions should be based. This isn't simply a technical distinction. If unverified timestamps are treated with the same confidence as independently confirmed GPS data, it risks weakening the credibility of the broader discussion rather than strengthening it. The confirmed 53-minute period of unusually slow movement near Horn Island already stands as one of the most significant unanswered questions in this investigation. It does not need additional, unverified information to make it more compelling. Its importance already rests on evidence that has been publicly documented. It's equally important to examine what has, and has not, been explained by those directly involved. Warren Hudson has publicly described one specific stop, explaining that the boat entered Fort Bayou so a drain plug could be replaced after water had been removed from the stern. That explanation addresses a single portion of the trip. If the expanded GPS sequence is eventually verified, however, several additional movements would still remain unexplained by any public statement currently on record. That gap should be described carefully. It is not proof that wrongdoing occurred, nor should it be dismissed as meaningless. It simply represents a difference between what has been publicly explained and what the fuller GPS timeline, if independently confirmed, would indicate. Until either the expanded GPS data is independently verified, or those additional movements are directly addressed by the individuals involved, that gap remains exactly what it is today, documented, unresolved, and awaiting further clarification. Not every meaningful development in this case has come through a press conference or a televised announcement. Some have taken place quietly through routine legal procedures that received little public attention but remain important for understanding where the case stands. One such development involves Nolan Wells' mother, Christine Wells, who recently filed a petition asking the court to appoint her as the administrator of her son's estate. On its face, this filing is not unusual. In Mississippi, as in many other states, appointing an estate administrator is a standard legal requirement following a person's death. It gives the next of kin the legal authority to manage the deceased person's affairs, handle financial matters, and represent the estate when necessary. This process is required regardless of how a person died or whether any investigation remains ongoing. It's important not to read more into this filing than it actually represents. By itself, it is not a lawsuit, nor does it introduce new evidence or accuse anyone of wrongdoing. It is simply the legal mechanism that allows a parent to carry out responsibilities the court requires after losing a child. As with every other aspect of this case, the standard of verification matters. Court filings are public records that can be independently confirmed through the appropriate county court. They should be evaluated based on official documentation rather than assumptions or second-hand reporting. As of this recording, the filing has been reported publicly, and any additional court confirmation should be viewed in that context. So why mention it at all? because beyond its legal purpose, it illustrates the personal reality facing Nolan's family. While much of the public has focused on interviews, press conferences, and developments in the investigation, Christine Wells has also been required to navigate the ordinary legal procedures that follow the death of a loved one. Away from television cameras and public attention, she was required to complete the paperwork necessary to obtain legal authority over her son's estate and personal affairs. That filing doesn't answer any of the unanswered questions surrounding Nolan's death. It doesn't move the investigation forward or reveal new evidence. What it does reveal is the practical burden placed on a grieving mother who has had to fulfill legal obligations while still waiting for answers about how and why her son died. And those answers remain incomplete. More than 3 weeks after Nolan's death, there was still no official determination of the cause of death, no official manner of death, and not even a confirmed official date of death. It's easy to hear the word undetermined and overlook its significance, but in a forensic investigation, that word carries considerable weight. It means investigators and medical professionals have not yet reached a conclusion supported by the available evidence. As matters currently stand, no official determination has established exactly how Nolan died, when he died, or whether another individual caused his death. That conclusion is not speculation. It comes from the preliminary findings of the family's independent autopsy, which were presented publicly by attorney Ben Crump and conducted by board-certified forensic pathologist Dr. Roger Mitchell. Those findings deserve careful consideration because they come from a named expert with recognized professional credentials. Dr. Mitchell personally conducted an independent examination on behalf of Nolan's family, and his preliminary conclusions were presented publicly rather than anonymously or through leaked documents. According to those findings, the cause of death remains undetermined. The manner of death also remains undetermined. Likewise, the exact date of death could not be established during the examination. One important factor contributed to those limitations. Dr. Mitchell explained that the condition of the remains significantly limited how much information could be obtained during the examination. That reality is important because it reminds us that some forensic questions become increasingly difficult, or in some cases impossible, to answer with certainty over time. The report also includes one physical observation that has drawn considerable attention. Dr. Mitchell documented a localized area of discoloration within the soft tissue. Unlike speculation circulating online, this observation comes directly from a forensic pathologist documenting what he personally observed during his examination. That distinction matters. A documented physical finding is not the same as an interpretation circulating on social media. It represents an actual observation made during a professional forensic examination. Even so, it must be interpreted carefully and within the context of the entire report. The presence of discoloration, standing alone, does not establish a cause of death, nor does it determine the manner of death. Dr. Mitchell himself did not draw those conclusions. In fact, the same report that documents this observation also concludes that the cause and manner of death remain undetermined. That consistency is important. The credibility of a forensic report depends not only on what it identifies, but also on what it refuses to claim without sufficient evidence. Rather than extending beyond the available facts, the report acknowledges its limitations and avoids conclusions that cannot yet be supported. That's the same standard we should apply in discussing these findings. If you're finding this breakdown helpful, consider supporting the channel by subscribing and liking this video. It helps more people discover factual, carefully researched coverage. I'd also like to hear your perspective in the comments, but please keep the discussion respectful and focused on the evidence. Another claim circulating online is that Nolan was known to be a capable swimmer, a point some have used to support broader theories about how he entered the water. However, in the materials reviewed for this investigation, that assertion has not been accompanied by a clearly documented source. That doesn't necessarily mean the claim is inaccurate. It simply means it has not yet been independently verified. Until it is supported by reliable documentation or first-hand testimony, it should remain separate from any conclusions about the circumstances surrounding Nolan's death. Finally, it's essential to remember that this investigation includes two separate autopsies. In addition to Dr. Mitchell's independent examination, the Mississippi State Medical Examiner also conducted an official autopsy earlier in the investigation. That examination took place well before the independent findings were released publicly. The official report exists, but it has not yet been released. According to public statements from prosecutors, it remains pending alongside toxicology testing and will not be made public until it has first been reviewed through the appropriate legal process. That leaves the investigation in an unusual position. One independent forensic pathologist has publicly documented physical observations while concluding that the cause and manner of death remain undetermined. At the same time, a second official autopsy exists, but remains unavailable to both the public and Nolan's family until legal procedures are completed. For now, that gap between what has been examined and what has been publicly released remains one of the defining features of this investigation. Until the official findings become available, many of the questions surrounding Nolan Wells' death will remain unanswered. As this investigation continues to unfold, several additional developments have drawn public attention. Some involve official statements from public officials, while others concern independent oversight processes that remain ongoing. Like every other aspect of this case, each deserves to be examined on its own merits, and not treated as evidence of something it does not establish. One development involves Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves, whose public comments on the case have evolved over time. Initially, the governor offered restrained remarks, emphasizing that the investigation should proceed through the appropriate law enforcement channels. More recently, however, he made stronger comments in an interview with Fox News Digital, suggesting that attorneys Ben Crump and Reverend Al Sharpton shared responsibility for the hostile atmosphere and threats that have surrounded the case. Different news organizations quoted portions of those remarks using slightly different wording, with some reports referring to personal gain and others using the phrase political gain. While those wording differences are worth noting, they do not change the central issue. What matters is that the FBI has confirmed it is investigating threats connected to this case. Those threats reportedly involve public officials, witnesses, and members of Nolan Wells' family, including Christine Wells. However, as of now, no public statement from the FBI or any other law enforcement agency has connected either Ben Crump or Al Sharpton to making or encouraging those threats. That distinction is important. The governor's comments represent his public position, but they are separate from the facts that investigators have officially confirmed. At the time of this recording, neither Crump nor Sharpton has publicly responded to those remarks. Another matter currently moving through an official process involves Judge Ashley Cole, the mother of Warren Hudson. Judge Cole publicly defended her son while identifying herself as a sitting judge. That decision prompted questions about whether her public comments complied with Mississippi's judicial ethics rules governing the conduct of judges outside the courtroom. As a result, a formal complaint has reportedly been submitted to the Mississippi Commission on Judicial Performance, the body responsible for reviewing allegations involving judicial conduct. That commission, not the media and not public opinion, is the authority charged with determining whether any ethical rules were violated. It's equally important to recognize what this process does and does not address. The Commission's review concerns Judge Cole's public conduct as a judge. It is entirely separate from the investigation into Nolan Wells' death. Whatever conclusion the Commission eventually reaches will not determine what happened to Nolan, nor will it answer the unanswered questions surrounding the criminal investigation. Those are two distinct matters and should not be confused. So where does this investigation stand today? At this moment, there is an audio interpretation that has not been independently verified by forensic experts or law enforcement. There is a GPS timeline containing both confirmed movements and additional reported movements that still await independent verification. There is an independent forensic examination documenting physical observations while concluding that the cause and manner of death remain undetermined. And there is an official state autopsy whose findings remain unavailable to the public pending the legal process. Those are the facts currently before us. Looking ahead, several important developments remain on the horizon. At some point, the grand jury is expected to review the official autopsy findings before they become available outside the investigative process. No public timeline has been announced for when that review will occur. The Mississippi Commission on Judicial Performance also has an open matter involving Judge Ashley Cole. When that process concludes, the Commission will determine whether any judicial ethics rules were violated. Again, no timetable has been announced for that decision. Meanwhile, questions surrounding the SETO recording remain unresolved. If the original audio is ever examined by qualified forensic audio specialists using the original recording and accepted forensic methods, that analysis could either support or reject the interpretations currently circulating online. Until such an examination occurs, those claims remain just that, claims. Each of these pending developments represents an official process that has already begun but has not yet reached a conclusion. Eventually, one or more of them will provide additional information that may help clarify parts of this investigation. Until then, patience and careful reporting remain essential. Cases like this often generate intense public interest, and with that attention comes an enormous volume of speculation, rumors, and competing narratives. That's why it's important to separate what has been documented from what has merely been suggested, and to distinguish confirmed evidence from interpretations that have yet to be independently verified. As new information becomes available, we'll continue following each development using the same standard we've applied throughout this series. If official records are released, we'll examine them. If forensic experts issue new findings, we'll review those findings carefully. And if investigators confirm or reject claims that are currently unresolved, we'll update the record accordingly. For now, many of the central questions in the Nolan Wells case remain unanswered. The investigation is still active, official reviews are still underway, and several key pieces of evidence have yet to become public. When those developments occur, they will provide a clearer picture of what can be moved from the category of unanswered questions into the category of confirmed facts. Until then, the responsible approach is to continue following the evidence wherever it leads, without overstating what is known, without minimizing what remains unresolved, and without confusing speculation with proof. Thank you for watching. If you value careful, evidence-based coverage that separates confirmed facts from unverified claims, consider subscribing and enabling notifications. We'll continue monitoring every official development and bring you updates whenever new information is confirmed.